You pull into a Costco parking lot on a Saturday afternoon and you watch a brand new pickup truck ease right into the spot beside yours. Crew cab, blacked out front end, fresh factory paint, the kind of chrome that makes your eyes water a little in direct sunlight. A guy climbs out. He is wearing a polo shirt with an embroidered logo from a regional HVAC company, lunchbox sitting on the passenger seat, a kid's car seat buckled into the back. He walks around to the truck bed, drops the tailgate, and loads in one case of bottled water and a warehouse-sized bag of toilet paper. That is the entire haul. That is what the truck accomplished today. And that truck cost more than what his parents paid for their first house. My name is Nick, and today we are going to do something the entire auto industry would genuinely prefer we never did. We are going to figure out who can actually afford a $50,000 truck in 2026. Not who the dealer will approve for financing, but who can genuinely afford one without quietly turning their entire financial life into a slow motion disaster that takes years to fully play out. Let's open with something almost nobody wants to admit out loud. $50,000 used to buy you a seriously well-equipped truck. In 2026, $50,000 barely gets you the base version with the door panels and all four wheels included in the price. Just so we are all working from real numbers here, the average transaction price on a brand new full-size pickup in 2026 sits at around $66,000. $66,000. That is the average. That is what the typical buyer is actually driving off the lot in. So when we talk about a $50,000 truck, we are not talking about the loaded version with the chrome running boards and the heated steering wheel and the panoramic sunroof. We are talking about the stripped down work spec trim level. A base Ford F-15 OXLT, which is the best selling trim in the entire lineup, carries an MSRP right around $48,500. A Chevy Silverado LT runs about $47,900. A Ram 1500 Bighorn comes in at roughly $47,500. By the time you layer on a couple of dealer options, state taxes, dock fees, and whatever creative line item the showroom invented that particular week, you have crossed $50,000 before you even thought about adding leather seats. So when I say a $50,000 truck, I want you to picture the responsible choice, the sensible choice. The one where the guy at the dealership leans across the desk and says, "This right here is the smart move." Yeah, and it still costs $50,000. Now, the median household income in America right now sits at about $84,000 a year before taxes come out. What that actually means is we are asking the average American household to spend roughly 60% of their entire pre-tax annual income on a single vehicle. A vehicle that, by the way, will be worth approximately half of what they paid for it within 5 years of purchase. So here's the first uncomfortable truth that needs to be said out loud. The $50,000 truck is not the everyday person's truck anymore. It is the floor. It is the absolute lowest rung on a ladder where the average rung costs $66,000 and the very top rung, the Raptor R, that keeps showing up all over TikTok, runs $113,000. Trucks have quietly transformed into luxury products wearing a hard hat and a high-vis vest. They are packaged and marketed to represent working-class American values, but they carry price tags that line up with Italian sports cars from 20 years ago, and nobody is raising their hand about any of it. We all just quietly accepted that a half-ton pickup now costs the same as a 4-year college degree. Nobody held a meeting about it. It just happened, and we moved on. So now let's talk about how people are actually paying for these things, because spoiler alert, they are absolutely not writing checks at the closing table. You walk into the dealership, you have made your decision on the $50,000 truck, and the salesman, who has been working that floor for 15 years and could genuinely sell snowblowers in Miami, opens the whole conversation with one very specific question. What kind of monthly payment are you comfortable sitting with? Notice, He did not ask what truck you can realistically afford. He did not bring up the total cost of the vehicle. He zeroed straight in on the monthly payment because the monthly payment is exactly where the magic trick lives and breathes. Here is how that trick actually works. The average new auto loan in America right now stretches nearly 69 months. That is 5.5 years of payments. But for trucks specifically, close to 30% of new vehicle loans are now falling between 73 and 84 months. That is 6 to 7 years. And for buyers rolling over negative equity from their last truck, 43% of those loans get stretched all the way out to the full 84 months. 7 years of payments on a depreciating machine that loses 20% of its value the moment you pull off the lot and hit the main road. Let's actually walk through the math right now, because the math is the entire point of everything we are doing here. You buy the $50,000 truck. You put $0 down because you do not have $10,000 sitting in a savings account doing nothing. And honestly, neither does most anyone else in this situation. We will be generous and place your interest rate at 7%, which is roughly the current national average for an auto loan. You stretch the term out to 84 months to bring the monthly number down to something that feels manageable on paper. Your monthly payment comes out to $754.85. Sounds like something you can handle, right? Under $800 a month, you can make that work. Now, here is where the trick fully reveals itself. Over the complete life of that loan, you will end up paying a total of $63,407 for a truck with a $50,000 price tag. That is $13,407 in pure interest charges. You just handed the bank enough money to purchase a brand new Honda Civic in exchange for the privilege of spreading your truck payments across 7 calendar years. By the end of year 1, your $50,000 truck has dropped in market value to roughly $40,000, but your remaining loan balance is still sitting at around $45,700, which means you are now $5,700 underwater on a truck you have technically owned for only 12 months, and this is not even the hard part yet. This is just the setup, because the truck does not care that your transmission has been making a strange noise. The truck does not care that you got shorted on overtime this quarter. The truck simply wants its $754.85 every single month for 7 straight years, regardless of what else is happening in your life. Let's take a quick step back from the math and fully appreciate where we are as a society right now, because I want you to sit with this particular number for a moment before we move on. In the fourth quarter of 2025, 20.3% of all new vehicle purchases in America came attached to a monthly payment of $1,000 or more. 1 in 5 new car buyers is writing a check for over $1,000 a month just for their vehicle. That is not a car payment in any traditional sense. That is a second rent. That represents a third of the median full-time American workers' take-home pay flowing straight out the door every single month just to cover the transportation to and from the job that earned it. And here's the part that should genuinely make your head swim. Walk through any new truck dealership lot in 2026 and really look at who is actually pulling the trigger on these purchases. What you are staring at is a lot full of vehicles being driven home by people who sit in roughly the top 15% of American earners. The remaining 85% are down the road at the used lot financing a 2019 Silverado at 14% interest because the new vehicle market has quietly left them behind without a single word of warning. The new car market in 2026 has become an affluent product. If you are middle class in America today, the system has already moved past you and did not bother to send a notification. But here's the thing about trucks specifically. Trucks never received that memo. Trucks are still being marketed day in and day out as the vehicle of the American everyman. They are in every country music video ever produced. They anchor every commercial built around hardworking American identity and blue-collar values. They are the official vehicle of being up before sunrise and putting in a full, honest day. And yet, the people those commercials were designed to represent, the actual working class Americans the truck was always supposed to belong to, are increasingly the exact people who cannot get anywhere close to affording one in 2026. Okay, so who is actually stepping into these trucks and driving home? Some of them are genuine high earners who can absorb the cost without restructuring their entire financial life around the payment. The majority of them are middle-class households stretching themselves into a financial position they have not fully thought through, signing 84-month contracts because the salesman looked them straight in the eye and said the two most dangerous words in all of personal finance. You're approved, and being approved for a loan, I cannot stress this enough, is absolutely not the same thing as being financially capable of handling it. The bank's definition of "you can handle this quietly" includes you skipping dental appointments for the kids and trimming the grocery budget down to whatever is cheapest at the store for the next 3 years. The bank does not factor any of that in. The bank simply wants the $754.85 on the first of every month. Now let's layer in the part of full truck ownership that the dealership very conveniently leaves off the window sticker, because the monthly loan payment is really just the opening act of a much longer show. You also have to actually operate this truck every single day, and operating it is expensive in ways that would make a mortgage broker genuinely uncomfortable at the dinner table. Insurance on a brand new $50,000 truck runs about $185 a month. That is simply the cost of being legally permitted to drive it on public roads. Fuel. A full-size pickup gets approximately 18 miles per gallon combined in real-world conditions. At 15,000 miles a year and $4 per gallon, which is where 2026 pump prices are sitting, that is $275 a month going into the tank. Maintenance, oil changes, brake jobs, the steady accumulation of small repairs rounds out to about $90 a month if you are being conservative and hoping nothing major surfaces. Tires. Truck tires are categorically not the same product as regular passenger car tires. A full set runs between $800 and $1,600 installed, and you will need a fresh set around the 50,000 mile mark, which sounds comfortably far away until you realize that is roughly 3 years of normal driving. Specialty tires on a Tremor or Trail Boss package can climb all the way to $3,000 for a single set. Registration and state taxes add another $90 a month depending on where you live. And then there is the quietest killer sitting underneath all of it, depreciation. Your $50,000 truck bleeds approximately $10,000 in value during year 1 alone. Another $9,000 by year 5. That is real money evaporating off the hood while you sleep at night. Add the full picture together. Loan payment $755, insurance $185, fuel $275, maintenance and tires $90, registration $90. Total cost of ownership $1,400 every single month for 7 consecutive years to own this vehicle. Now let me put those numbers inside a real household because figures on a screen are easy to scroll past without feeling them. Numbers attached to a real Tuesday morning are a completely different experience. Meet the Garcias, 2 working adults, combined household income of $90,000 a year, which puts them above the national median. 2 kids at home. Carlos works for a mid-sized logistics company. Maria is an elementary school teacher. They rent a 3-bedroom house in a suburb where nearly every driveway on the block has a pickup truck parked in it. Last year, Carlos bought the $50,000 truck, 84-month loan, nothing down. Salesman confirmed he was approved for it. Monthly payment landed at $755. Here is what their Tuesday actually looks like now. Carlos is out the door by 6 o'clock in the morning. He drives the truck 38 miles each way to work, mostly highway miles, always alone. The truck bed is empty. It is always empty. Maria takes the kids to school in their 2014 Honda CR-V with 140,000 miles on the odometer and a check engine light that flickers on every time it rains outside. After taxes, the Garcias bring home approximately $5,600 a month. Rent is $1,850. Childcare for the youngest is $1,200. Groceries run $800. Utilities are $350. The truck, fully loaded with insurance and fuel costs, runs $1,400 a month. That leaves them exactly $0 before a single unplanned expense enters the picture. No new clothes for the kids, no dentist visit, no date night, no savings account contributions, no 401k. When the CRV's transmission finally gives out next spring, and it absolutely will, that repair charge goes straight onto a credit card because there's nothing sitting in an emergency fund, because there is no emergency fund to begin with. And Carlos, who genuinely believed he was being responsible by choosing the sensible base trim instead of something loaded, will spend the next 6.5 years writing a $755 check every month for a truck he uses to haul his lunchbox to a desk. The truck did not wreck his financial life. The math did, and not a single person at that dealership ever sat him down and walked him through the math. I can already hear the comments coming in. But I actually need a truck. I tow things. I haul materials for work. My job requires a full-size pickup. And if that is genuinely your real-world situation, honestly, this video is not really aimed at you. If you use your truck for actual truck work on a regular basis, you have earned the right to drive one without any argument from me. But the data on how the majority of truck owners in America actually use their vehicles is, and I mean this completely, sincerely, genuinely hilarious to look at. There is an ongoing study from Strategic Vision that has collected survey responses from more than 250,000 truck owners asking how they actually use their trucks in real life. Here's what came back. 75% of truck owners tow something once a year or less. Nearly 70% go off-road once a year or less. 35% of truck owners put something in the bed once a year or less. Roughly 90% never use their truck for any form of actual work at any point during the year. A Ford F-150 study specifically found that 63% of owners rarely or never tow anything. 32% rarely or never haul anything in the bed at all. And 87% regularly use their truck for shopping trips and everyday household errands. Let me just translate all of that plainly. The average modern pickup truck in America is a tall, expensive, gas-hungry grocery hauler. It is, by the pure weight of the statistics, a Costco vehicle that happens to have four-wheel drive and a chrome step bar. Picture Dave. Dave manages an office at a mid-size accounting firm. Dave bought his truck in 2022 because he was absolutely convinced he was about to get serious about camping and the outdoors. He bought a kayak the same year with the same conviction. The kayak is still in the garage. It has never touched water in its life. At this point, it functions primarily as a $400 piece of garage wall art that he steps around every morning. Dave drives the truck 30 miles round trip to an office park 5 days a week. In 3 full years of ownership, the truck bed has carried exactly 3 things: a bag of mulch, a Christmas tree, and a used couch he picked up off Facebook Marketplace for $40. That couch did not cover a single month of his truck payment. And Dave is completely fine, by the way. Dave is not a victim of anything. Dave is simply the statistical average truck owner in America right now. And that brings us to the actual point this entire video has been building toward. We are paying $66,000 on average for vehicles that spend the majority of their working lives transporting 2 bags of mulch from Home Depot once a year and sitting in an office park parking lot from 8 to 5. And we are paying that number because trucks have stopped being tools and become something else entirely. They have become identity. They are 4-wheeled performances of the kind of person you want the world around you to believe you are. Capable, tough, rugged, outdoorsy, all-American, even when your actual daily life involves a desk, a 40-minute commute, and a deeply personal opinion about which gas station brews the best coffee. And I am not mocking that for even a second. I genuinely get it. Buying a vehicle is, for a lot of people, the single most public statement they make about who they are to the world. A truck says something real. The problem is that the thing it says in 2026 costs $1,400 a month to communicate. And when you cannot actually afford to say that thing on your income, the truck stops being an identity and starts being a compounding financial problem that quietly gets worse every single month. If you are still watching at this point, you are almost certainly the kind of person who genuinely wants to understand all of this and use it. Most people clicked away somewhere around the loan math section, and that honestly proves the central thesis of this entire video. The people who most needed to see what comes next are the exact ones who already left and went back to scrolling. So consider this the reward for staying with it, because this is the part I actually want you to hold on to after the video ends. Say instead of buying the $50,000 truck, you went out and picked up a $20,000 used car, something like a 5-year-old Toyota Camry. Completely boring, completely bulletproof reliable. The exact car your dentist drives and never thinks about. The total monthly operating cost of that Camry loan plus insurance plus fuel plus maintenance all rolled in together would run about $700 a month compared to the $1,400 a month the truck was going to demand. That is a clean $700 difference sitting there every single month available to be redirected somewhere else entirely. Now, what if you took that $700 every month and dropped it consistently into a basic index fund? Nothing fancy, nothing that requires a financial advisor on retainer, just the S&P 500, which has historically delivered around 8% annually over long stretches of time. If you invested $700 a month without interruption for 30 years, you would end up with approximately $1.04 million. $1 million, that is not a theory or a projection designed to impress you. That is a fully funded retirement. That is the literal difference between retiring at 65 with genuine options in front of you and still working at 75 because the math never added up. That is the difference between leaving your kids something meaningful and leaving them nothing but loose ends. That is the difference between dying with financial freedom and dying with outstanding bills, all traced back to a decision you made in your 30s about what you wanted parked in the driveway. I'm not telling you that you cannot buy a truck. I'm telling you that you deserve to know what the truck actually costs in full. The $50,000 sticker is the smallest number in the entire equation. The 7 years of compounding interest is the next smallest. The compounding opportunity cost of every dollar steered toward that truck instead of toward your future is the real price. And absolutely nobody in the dealership is ever going to hand you that number voluntarily because there is no commission check generated when you walk out the door and decide to invest the money instead. Nobody at Fidelity is buying a boat because you opened an index fund account today. The entire financial infrastructure surrounding the American auto industry is built to guide you gently and persistently toward the truck, because the truck creates profit for every single participant in the chain except the one making the monthly payment. The dealer captures the margin, the bank captures the interest, the insurance company collects the premiums, the gas station gets the fill-ups, the manufacturer pockets the markup on every option package. The only person in that complete chain who loses financial ground on the deal is the one sitting behind the wheel heading home. And the only moment you typically discover that is about 10 or 12 years down the road when you look at your own retirement account, take a quiet glance at a friend's retirement account, and slowly wonder what they figured out that you never did. So let's put a clear, direct answer to the question in the title. Who can actually afford a $50,000 truck in 2026? Under the traditional financial guideline known as the 20/4/10 rule, which holds that you should put 20% down, finance for no longer than 4 years, and keep total transportation costs under 10% of gross annual income. The honest answer breaks down like this. You need to be earning approximately $150,000 a year You need $10,000 in real accessible cash for a down payment before you set foot in the showroom. And you need to be ready to absorb a monthly payment closer to $950 on a 4-year loan rather than the $755 on the 7-year loan the salesman is absolutely going to try to steer you toward because it sounds better in the moment. So, who actually fits that complete profile? Roughly the top 15% of American household earners, not the top 1%, not the legitimately wealthy, but solidly upper middle class to high income households, dual income professionals, people in stable, high paying careers carrying no significant existing debt load. And even those people are not the ones buying these trucks most aggressively or most frequently. The households buying the most trucks in America are middle-class families bringing in between $60,000 and $100,000 a year. The Garcias, the Daves, they are doing it by stretching loan terms to the absolute outer limit, putting nothing down, and quietly accepting that somewhere between 25% and 30% of their monthly take-home pay is going to disappear into a truck payment for the next 7 years of their lives. They are doing it because the dealership confirmed they were approved and that felt like validation. They are doing it because a cousin did it and it appeared to be fine. They are doing it because the commercials and the culture spent decades making it look completely ordinary and expected. And they are doing it because not a single person in their life, not a friend, not a parent, not anyone has ever sat them down and shown them the actual math on what they are agreeing to until right now, hopefully. Because if this video does one thing, I want it to cause one person to pause before they pick up that pen at the closing table. Just pause and run the complete numbers, not the monthly payment number the salesman keeps circling back to, the full 7-year numbers, the total interest paid numbers, the compounding opportunity cost numbers, because the entire difference between affording a truck and being slowly trapped by one is a single honest calculation that everyone inside that dealership is financially motivated to make sure you never actually sit down and complete on your own. Here's what I genuinely want you to do before you purchase any vehicle in 2026. Block out 30 minutes, sit down somewhere quiet, and add up every real number. The loan payment, the insurance, the fuel, the ongoing maintenance costs, the tires, the registration fees, and the annual depreciation. Compare that full monthly number to your actual take-home pay and ask yourself one completely honest question. Can I genuinely afford this vehicle, or have I simply been told by someone with a commission check writing on my signature that I can? Because those are two entirely different questions with two entirely different answers, and the gap between them is wider than most people realize until it is already too late to do much about it. The bank's risk tolerance and your ability to live a financially stable, low-stress life are not running the same calculation. And in 2026, with trucks priced at full luxury vehicle levels and loan terms stretched out like 6 and 7-year commitments you never fully meant to make, the distance between those two answers is the widest it has ever been in American automotive history. The truth that nobody in the industry will come out and say plainly is that the auto business stopped selling transportation a long time ago. What it sells now is identity, packaged as a vehicle, financed over 7 years at 7% interest, and wrapped in a commercial featuring a dirt road and a perfect sunrise and someone who looks like they have never lost a night of sleep over a financial decision. Every advertisement, every showroom design decision, every monthly payment-focused sales conversation is engineered specifically to prevent you from doing the math you just watched me walk through right here. If you genuinely need a truck, if you tow on a regular basis, if you haul materials for a real working business, if you live somewhere that 4-wheel drive is the difference between getting to work and not getting there, then go buy the truck. Buy it with both eyes completely open and every real number sitting right in front of you before you sign. But if you do not actually need it the way you think you do, then the single most financially courageous decision you can make in 2026 is not buying the truck. It is looking squarely at the math, looking at the salesman, looking at all that factory fresh chrome reflecting the showroom lights, and saying plainly and calmly, "No, thank you. I think I would rather keep my retirement